So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mitesh, and I'm from Success at School, and we are doing this webinar in partnership with ACCA, the global professional accounting body, and we're helping you understand what apprentices do and explore different career pathways. Did you know that over 50% of today's FTSE 100 CEOs have roots in accounting, finance, or related fields? But what does it really mean to work as an apprentice in this industry? Today, we're going to take you behind the scenes to discover just that. You'll hear directly from apprentices who are currently balancing their studies with work in some incredible roles. They'll share their stories, insights, and tips and help you understand what day-to-day life in accountancy apprenticeship involves and why this could be the perfect career for you. So we're thrilled to have a fantastic lineup of apprentices: Nana, Daniel, Peter, and Olivia. Alongside them, we have George, Early Careers Manager at ACCA. Before we begin, just to let you know, the webinar will be recorded so you can watch it back again if you miss anything. Also, please use the chat function to ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them in the Q&A at the end. George, over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mitesh, and a good evening to everyone. I can hear the pinging of people joining, which is really good to hear. And yeah, so good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining ACCA's A Day in the Life of an Accountant Apprentice webinar that we're doing with Success at School. As Mitesh said, my name is George Chunias. I'm Early Careers Manager at ACCA. I'm going to be your host this evening. It's so great to see so many have joined, and this webinar is part of a wider webinar series we're doing to redefine the accountant and provide opportunities to young people to essentially understand more about accounting and finance, dispel some myths, and showcase a range of opportunities available. And our overarching aim is to widen access to accountancy. Now, this evening, as you can see on the screen in front of you, I'm really pleased to be joined by Nana, Daniel, Peter, and Olivia. They'll be sharing their insights, and they will do some introductions very shortly. So a big thank you to all for joining the panel. As Mitesh said, please use the chat function. We will have time for Q&A, and a member of the Success at School team will collect questions, and we try and form some themes to be able to answer those questions. So let's get started. So who is ACCA? Now, you might not know who ACCA is. We are the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, or ACCA for short. So now you know. We are the global professional body for people working in accounting and finance, just like the people that you're going to hear from. We have members and students in over 180 countries, so we are truly global. For those of you that are joining, you might not know what a professional body is, but essentially what we do, we offer qualifications for accounting and finance professionals, so they have a globally recognized qualification. So for you, you might have heard of Edexcel or AQA if you're doing GCSEs or A levels. And in essence, it's we offer the qualifications, but a professional body, of course, in a professional setting, it's much bigger than that, because once you are qualified or you're a student, you become a member of the ACCA community. And as I said, our qualifications are truly global and can give you a global passport to unlock careers opportunities for you. So if you were to take to study or do an apprenticeship or go into accounting and finance, chances are you will be taking our qualification. Now, a quick in the chat, can anyone, what do we think that these companies have in common? So can anyone put in the chat what you think these companies all might have in common? I'll give you 30 seconds if you want to use the chat. Maybe someone put, okay, Ibrahim has basically hit the nail on the head. They all have a finance department. Yep, exactly. So all of these companies, so as we said, it's about widening access to the profession and making you broaden your horizon. So all these companies will have a finance department, and they will need accountants. So it's one of the career that is in need all the time. You will hear from people on the call today that they're very much in need, and you can work in any sort of sector where your interests lie. You could work there. So you know, you could be working for Chanel, Formula One, Manchester United or another football team. So yes. Okay. So what does a day in the life of an apprentice look like? But before we go to our panel, I think we're going to have a quick poll that we're going to put into the we're going to launch a quick poll just to understand, have your understanding. So can we launch the poll, please? Have we got the poll coming up? Yeah.
Can you see the poll?
Yeah, I can see the poll. Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Yeah. Okay, I'll give everyone 30 seconds to do that. So not very confident, around 60% are not very confident. Some people are somewhat confident, some are very confident. So real mix there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing the PowerPoint. Okay, so as I said, today's session is all about hearing from people that are working in accountancy and can share their insights. So I'm really pleased to be joined by our panel. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to members of the panel to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them some questions before we go to some Q&A from yourself. So without further ado, I will go with the people in order of their screen. So if you briefly introduce yourself, what you do. So I'm going to start with Nana.
Hi everyone, my name is Nana. I was studying for the ACCA apprenticeship. I went to university and I studied accounting and economics, and then after that I moved into the tech industry and I was one of the senior finance assistants. Now I'm recently working in property and I work as a finance business partner. And yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nana. Okay, so Daniel.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm a level 7 finance apprentice at the House of Commons. This is actually my third apprenticeship because when I left school, I didn't study A-level. I went straight into an apprenticeship and studied AAT. And then I've been able to progress through, and I started my current apprenticeship last year. So that's myself.
Okay, so next one is Peter.
Hi everyone, my name's Peter. I did a degree in pharmacology and then I worked in the outdoors industry and the snow sports industry for a couple of years. And now I'm a financial accountant in practice and I look after a portfolio of clients.
Okay, and then finally Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I studied AAT and then my ACCA recently qualifying January this year. I'm based on the South Coast with a small in England for small practice, working with small businesses for portfolio of clients, supporting their needs if necessary.
Okay, so I might go to you first, Olivia. So why did you choose an apprenticeship and how did you get into it?
I knew from quite an early age going to attending college that doing my UCAS application, I just had this feeling that uni wasn't for me. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. And actually I kind of fell into accountancy. Didn't really know what they did. I liked maths at school. So an actually family friend recommended it and I did some shadowing at their local firm. And yeah, I did a bit of work experience, loved it. And then started my apprenticeship and yeah, started my career in accountancy.
Okay, and Daniel, you also didn't go to university. So why did you choose to do an apprenticeship and how did you get into it?
So very similar to Olivia, actually. So I went to a secondary school that didn't have a sixth form attached. So we were obviously advised to do our sixth form applications to study A-levels. I was sort of put an application in as that's what the careers advisors expected of us to do. And I was originally studying A-level law, business and computer science. So I wasn't even studying accountancy. And I enrolled in the September and I was there for about 4 months. And then quite quickly I realised that it wasn't actually for me. I think I knew I wanted to work and I fell into it as well. I looked at apprenticeship, at what was around, and there was an opening at another secondary school to study AAT. So that's how I fell into this.
Okay, and then I'll go to Nana. So you said you went to university and then you started an ACCA apprenticeship. So why did you choose accounting in the first place? Because you can go into it through university and then do an apprenticeship, or you can do it before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think with my uni, they offered the options of accounting and economics. So I was a bit confused. I was like, let me just do this degree and then see how I feel afterwards. So once my degree was completed, I leaned more towards accounting. And then my workplace actually offered me to do the level 7 apprenticeship. So whilst working, I was able to study. And because I did accounting at uni, I managed to get some exemptions. So I didn't have to do all the 13 exams. I think I got 3 or 4 exemptions, so I started off from the skills level. So yeah, it was a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah, and how about you, Peter? So you didn't study anything to do with accountancy, so it's quite an interesting thing for someone to listen to your story as well.
Yeah, so my background is in life science, or my educational background anyway. And then, yeah, I worked in the outdoors industry for a little bit, and I've tried a bit of everything basically. But I wanted to give finance a go, so I asked around a couple of accountancy firms for some experience. And then I found a firm that I really got on with, really enjoyed the work, and then they offered to put me on the ACCA apprenticeship, and that's how I've got here today. Yeah.
Okay, so what does I'll carry on with you actually. So what does a typical day look like for an accountancy apprentice? If there's any specific tasks that you can kind of.
Yeah, sure. So I run a portfolio of clients. So it basically means if they've got any issues with their business or compliance or anything like that that they need help with, they'll get in contact with me, and I'll basically answer any of their questions and work with them to find the best way of extracting cash from their business, basically. Basically to find efficiencies and make sure that it's all done correctly and regulated.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe let's go to Olivia. What does a typical day look like for you? So you've obviously now qualified, but you were once an apprentice, so you can give that whole sort of perspective.
Yeah, so a lot of people actually ask when I qualified, especially in apprenticeship, I think it's quite an old age myth that kind of after your apprenticeship, you kind of let go. I think in this industry, it's not like that anymore. So it's actually been so lovely that my job role has stayed very, very similar, but actually not having study leave and the stress of exams over me. So it's been really lovely to actually embrace what I do, really enjoy what I do this year, without that study leave, with me. But also it's been lovely now, the other side of it, having experience in the classroom, seeing it in like exam book world, as we kind of call it, and then actually see it in day-to-day life. It's lovely to see, right, this is what the exams teach you, this is how it is in day-to-day life, and actually how the two merge together, and having support from my employer to kind of walk me through that process of this is what you'd have learned, this is how it looks in real day life. And yeah, that transition has been really great. And I think the thing with accountancy is you just do everything. You do literally, you are that listening ear, you're like the hairdresser, I need help with this. But like Peter was saying, efficiencies, cash, it's kind of like the limit of what we're queried and asked and help with is kind of unlimited. So yeah, it's great because you get to know people on a really, really good level and your clients, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well, around like what you learn in the classroom or in the learning as you're doing the qualifications, and like seeing it in action. So you're able to, you're working and studying at the same time. How about you, Nana? What is a typical day? So you've recently started a new job, you said, in property. Like, what does a typical day look like?
Yeah, so as a finance business partner, I basically work along the different sites I own and just basically trying to help them save money. So I'm more on the cost side rather than the revenue side. So a day-to-day will be in the office, normal 9 to 5, dealing with the sites team and just giving them options as to where to save money over here, reduce costs over here, make the margins high over here, just basically helping people. And just to back on with what Olivia said as well, I like doing the apprenticeship because the things that you learn with ACCA, you're actually able to apply it to real life, and it's very, very practical. The type of person I am, I'm a very visual learner. So the things that I read, the things that I write, I need to be able to do it. So when they talk about, for example, in financial reporting, when you're looking at profit and loss statements, when you're looking at statement of financial position, and when you're at work and you're actually able to post accruals. Sorry if this all sounds like what the hell is she talking about? But if you do decide to go into this apprenticeship route, you will know what I'm talking about. But being able to apply what you're studying into like real life working examples just makes sense. So yeah, it's busy. You got work in the morning, and then after work I log in online, and then I do the live online because I like that personal relationship rather than going to the office and then having to go to the classroom. It can be very tiring, but yeah, that's how I
Yeah,
study.
I mean, it's great. There's lots of different words and technicalities that people might not understand. But I think what you were saying, and then you said it really well, is that what you're learning, as Olivia said, you're actually seeing it in action. So it's really good. And sometimes at school you might learn things like how is that applicable to real life. So it's not always evident, but it is through an apprenticeship. So Daniel, what about your typical day in your apprenticeship? You obviously work in the House of Commons, so anything in your day to day?
Yeah, so I'm part of a cohort of 6 apprentices, and it's a 3-year program, and we rotate around the different departments. So I've actually just recently rotated, so I'll sort of touch on both of my placements that well, one that I've done and one that I'm currently doing. My first rotational placement was in as a management accountant in project delivery. So as Nana just said, it's sort of like dealing with accruals and forecasting and things like this. And where I say it was in project delivery, it was for strategic estates, so all the buildings, large capital projects. So that one was very interesting, very deadline heavy with month end. And for my second year, I've rotated into in the improvement team, and we're looking at efficiencies, and we're doing something called zero-based reviews with budgets. And as Nana said, it's also these technical language. These are things that when you pick up in a workplace, that you very quickly adapt and you experience lots of different things, and you touch on what you are studying, and it sort of really brings it to life.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's just a case of I've had one placement where it's very deadline heavy, and the one I currently am, because it's more specific task and efficiency based. It's not as deadlines as heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I think there's a question that's come into the chat, and it's like the person's reading my mind, because it's the next question is around exams. So when you're doing an apprenticeship, you're working and learning at the same time. Can you touch upon around like the exams, and how do you manage your work responsibilities and studying for your qualification? So I'll go with you, Daniel, first.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll definitely say it's a commitment, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you're a full-time member of staff. You're an employee. Yes, as an apprenticeship, one of the main benefits you get is your protected study time is 20% off the job learning, and some employers give more than that with study leave discretion. But you got to think of it as a long game, and the long hours you put in, it will pay off, and it's definitely a great work into a career.
Yeah. I'll go to you, Nana, because you said when you finish your day job, you then log on. So how do you find that managing and like staying motivated?
Yeah, so I started the apprenticeship journey during COVID. So that point, it was great for me because we wasn't in the office, so we was just all working from home. So once it hits 5, laptop is off, personal laptop's on, and then I'm good to go. But now that everything's starting to open again, you really have just relaying what Daniel says, you really have to commit. Like this is it's not something going to get done. I mean, it is possible to do all your exams in a year. Some people have done it, but you really need to commit and put that time aside, because you will have pressures from the workplace to make sure that you're being a good employee and getting the job done. And also at the same time, you need to make sure you have spare time so that you revise and make sure you get all the work done and all your practice tests, revision, just making sure you understand what you're doing. So if you do want to take on an apprenticeship, it's so rewarding. However, you yourself need to actually sit down and be like, is this logical? Am I able to put maybe 3 or 4 hours every Saturday, every weekend, just so that I can fully revise? For me personally, I've missed out on some people's birthdays, my own birthday, but I've known what the end game is, and that's to become a chartered accountant. So you need to be realistic as well with your timings, and make sure you have that time aside and just be motivated. So yeah,
I think motivation and like the dedication, does that resonate with you, Peter? So you're probably in the middle of doing exams, so how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I'm just about to sit an exam in a week's time, so it's sort of reaching the peak at this point. My one tip would just be to organise your study before you do it, and always just have some time booked that when you're going to be studying, and just make sure that you stick to your plan. And that also means that you plan in your social life around that as well. I know it's not as fun and spontaneous as you might like it to be, but I always try to have something that I look forward to booked in after a study session or after an exam. I might like book in like a little hangout with friends or whatever. So yeah, plan ahead.
Plan ahead. Good. Yeah. And was planning important for you, Olivia? Because you've obviously completed the 13 exams, and you obviously you have to be very organized, as everyone has kind of pointed out. So how was it for you?
Yeah, I think what everyone said is literally what I would back up, the prioritization, having your social life does have to be put on hold, unfortunately. I know that's a bit, it is the truth. I think it's a sacrifice, but it's worth it. So just planning, having a game plan, knowing what you're going to do, like Peter said, having a reward, going, you're not going to be able to study all day on a Saturday. It's just probably you're not going to get much out of it. So just giving yourself a couple of hours each day just to keep it fresh. And obviously you're supported by your employer and your study providers as well, and they're always there to help you. So but kind of backing up what everyone's already said, that just prioritization, dedication.
Yeah, and I think one of the I'm going to go on to like a misconception. So like maths, everyone thinks you have to be amazing at maths, and it is an element of that. But in terms of like the skills to succeed in your role, I've asked you a question, so I'll get you to start. What skills are important for an accountant?
So I think organizations kind of like anytime we look to recruit somebody, organization is the most important, because it is kind of like, if you have an analogy of spinning plates, that's kind of what an accountant does. You've got lots of different deadlines, you've got lots of different stakeholders to satisfy: your clients, your employee, your fellow colleagues, your boss. So it's that basically being with the spinning plates, being adaptable and being flexible and being willing to say, I always love my job, because you come in on like a Monday and you think you know what the day looks like, and by the end of that day or the end of that week, nothing's gone as you thought, and lots of things are moved around, because that's just the nature of accountancy. People need stuff with a quick deadline, so kind of rejuggle your work, but it keeps it fresh, it keeps it fun, it keeps it doesn't go, accountancy is never stagnant, I guess, which is always a good thing. So,
yeah, and accountants are always in need. On that point, does anyone else have any other skills they think they need to succeed? So I'll just open it up to the three of you.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely need to be personable. Back in Olivia, people are always going to come to you with, a lot of people are scared of the word finance. A lot of people don't know what it means. So if you being that person there, like that first point of contact, a lot of people will ask you questions. So you need to make sure you're very personable, very interactive, and willing to help. And I would also say another key skill to have is attention to detail. You don't necessarily need to be the smartest person. You don't need to be a numbers person, but if you're able to root out what's the cause, what's the problem, why are the numbers not balancing, just having that focus, I think you do really, really well in accountancy and finance.
Yeah. Daniel?
Happy to add there. So I think communication is a key one there, because I think that goes into some soft skills that you have in your workplace. But it's a case of, if you can now be able to articulate and communicate effectively, I think you can be clear of what the expectation is of you as an employee, and also for the people you're supporting. And then on the back of that, also resilience, because you're obviously, like I said, you're balancing studying as well as working. It's the motivation, being able to bounce back when things don't always go the way that you planned. Being really resilient.
Yeah, I think that picking up on the point of resilience is so important, because sometimes things don't go the way you expect them, and that's life, and it's just how we pick ourselves up and carry on. Peter, did you have any other skills that weren't mentioned that you think are important for an accountant?
Yeah, I just want to back up what the other guys have said. People skills definitely up there. With the technology nowadays, you're not spending hours and hours doing sums and that sort of thing. The real skills are the people skills, and the common sense and the life experience as well. Because you're dealing with people, and people are funny about money because it's an awkward topic. So people don't like to be open and honest about it. So if you've got a client who says, "Oh, I just spent £100 getting some milk and biscuits for the office or something," you have to broach that sort of thing. You have to be questioning, even if you're working in their best interests. So having really strong people skills and a bit of analytics in there is really helpful.
Great, great. So we are going to go to Q&A in a bit, but I think I've got maybe one or two last questions. And I think for all of those joining, there are lots of questions that have been in the chat, and we will try and answer as many as possible. But for those that have joined and they might be unsure about an apprenticeship, or they don't know if they want to go to uni or do an apprenticeship, and we've got a mix of people on the call that have done different levels of apprenticeship, what would your advice be to someone that is kind of unsure, or are there any misconceptions you would like to dispel about apprenticeships? So maybe we'll start with Olivia.
Yeah, two things. These are like my biggest thing.
Yeah.
You probably think, what does an accountant do? And I was exactly the same. Didn't understand it. Didn't really. What's a balance sheet? What's a profit and loss? What are these accounts? Go and get experience in accountancy. Go and do it, or a finance arm. Go and just absorb yourself in it. I think that's the best way to learn to understand it. That's like number one. I guess a myth that probably was broken, and someone actually told me this when I first started out. A bit like we said earlier, you think it's numbers, you think it's all. I did it because I like maths. That's basically where I started it. I'd say it's about 20% numbers, 80% personal skills, and also professionalism, and also written skills. Your English, your writing, your professional, your letters, having to convey it in an email to somebody. That's also just as important than it is the numbers to back it up. Being able to explain that in a professional manner. Would be, yeah, my two things. Go and get the work experience, but also don't think, oh, I'm numbers, I don't like writing. If you don't like writing, it's probably not for you, because I think there's a lot of that probably goes under the radar. You think accountancy, finance, numbers, and that's it, but it is a lot of also written, I'd say too.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because I work with lots of people in accountancy, and they say with apprentices and graduates as well, is the sort of the people skills, but also, as you identified, some of the English and how to actually write emails, how to talk to people, how to disseminate that information. So that's yeah, really good. How about Daniel? Would you have any advice to someone who's unsure? So you're on your third apprenticeship, so you've changed a few times, which, we can change in life, we change our mind and stuff, but do you have any advice?
Yes, so my three apprenticeships have all been in accountancy. So it was doing so it was level 3 AAT, then level 4 straight from school, and then onto ACCA. So I've developed through. I think, just going on to myths that Olivia mentioned quickly, is I think it's a case of, when I was at school, as I mentioned, the idea is that you go to sixth form, the idea is you go to university, and that sometimes that route isn't for everybody. I think it'd be, my bit of advice would firstly be, don't always compare yourself to what your peers are doing and think you have to be doing a specific route into a career. So I think, don't be afraid. It's definitely, don't compare yourself either, because everyone's in their route, on their own route. And they're like practical work experience, have been able to develop these skills that we've mentioned, because I think if you did go down and become or apply for any apprenticeship, you'll really stand out. And if you give an idea of what field is that you want to go into, and know a bit about the area, that will really reflect you well on you.
Yeah, and doing your research, I think, that's really, really important. And joining stuff like this, you're getting an understanding of things. Absolutely. And not to plug next week's session, but we've got an application masterclass next week, so you can join that. I'm going to be there with someone else who's going to be doing about writing your application for an apprenticeship. So I'm going to go to Nana. Do you have any advice to anyone on the call who might be unsure?
Yeah, so I started off, so I went to college, I did accounting and business and economics, and then I went to uni and I did accounting and economics, and then I started my apprenticeship. But I would say, if I knew, because us at uni, we never really discussed about apprenticeships, because we was just there for school, just get a degree and go. But if I knew what I knew now, personally for me, because both routes end up in accounting anyway, I would have done the accounting apprenticeship. For me personally, I just feel like it just would have saved me time, because there are some things that I'm still learning. To the things that I learned at uni, you are learning it at a more advanced level at the ACCA apprenticeship. But yeah, I'll just say, in terms of experience, I didn't start off working here. I started off in retail, so I was actually working at M&S and working at like Tesco, Sainsbury's. These are where you meet everyday normal people. You're dealing with cash, you're dealing with transactions, so just those type of roles there, and then I did an internship, like a finance internship at Google, and then slowly you just progress. So you don't have to think, oh, if I don't get this accountant apprenticeship, or if I don't get this internship, everything's all over. No, like it literally, you can start off anywhere. You can start off working at Ladbrokes, you can start off working at Iceland. It doesn't matter, as long as you're working with people. That's how you build relationships, that's how you build interactions. And again, like making sure you do your actual research. Just going back to what Peter said, like or was it Daniel? Sorry. Don't follow other people. Make your mind up. Make your decisions by yourself. Go online. There's a lot of resources. And ACCA, like they have like I think there's a section on there. Like if you're unsure, if you want to speak to people, you can call them. You can ring them up, ask about the courses, and of course, we're all here to help as well. So I think at the end, there's going to be room for you guys to ask questions. But yeah, make sure you ask questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. Ask, because that's the only way you're ever going to learn.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go to Peter. Do you have any? And sorry, I wanted to say, Nan, I really like the thing about the work experience, because we've talked about the personal skills, and you get them from work experience straight from school. Like, you know, if you're working, I worked in Tesco's, and I built my people skills because you're interacting with loads of different people, and this is what employers want. So yeah. So Peter, any words of advice from you, and then we will go to some questions.
My one biggest piece of advice is don't worry if you want to have a career in finance. You don't need to do the maths, economics, you know, straight hard stuff. Do what you're interested in, do what you're passionate about, get the people skills, get the soft skills, and then you can always come back to it later. I came into finance 2 years after I finished my degree. I'd never worked in finance before. So I'd say if you're at a school level or maybe a college level, or just deciding what to do what you're interested in for a start, and then see how you go from there.
Yeah, no, such great piece of advice. And I see the chat has been, as they say, popping off, and I've been trying to not look at the chat and try to focus as well. But we're going to go to some Q&A. So I think Mitesh, I think from Success at School, we've got some questions that were submitted as well before. So shall we have a look at trying to answer some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd just like to say we've got probably over 80 questions from what was asked before and what's been asked in the chat.
There's
so
much going.
We're definitely not going to get through them all.
No.
To all the students online, like you may or may not be aware of this, but we've got apprentice mentors on our site. So if after this you don't get answered all the questions, you can go on our site and ask them questions. They'll answer them back. We've got an accountancy section as well. I'm going to try and organize these questions in a way that's kind of chronological.
Yeah.
So like a simple question, obviously a lot of people have said you don't need maths to do accountancy, but that question has come quite a lot. So maybe we could just ask the apprentices what subjects they studied, just to give an understanding of like what kind of range of subjects they might have studied before they went into accountancy apprenticeship.
Not whoever wants to answer that one.
So I literally am like non-accountancy. So I did at A level, I did IT, geography and photography. So nothing maths, nothing. I did okay in my maths GCSEs. So that's when I knew I liked it. But yeah, literally didn't want to go down the maths route, didn't do economics. I started economics, did the first session, didn't like it, so came out. So yeah, literally nothing to do with accountancy at all.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there, but typically for your GCSE, you're going to need nowadays like 4 to 9, and depending on like who you do your apprenticeship with, you not necessarily need maths as at A level. Anyone else?
I think the entry requirements for the apprenticeships that I've done have always been a pass in English and maths as a standard, and then obviously any sort of qualifications done or A levels you've done obviously help, but I don't think you necessarily have to do the maths and like a business or an accountancy. You can always go in. I mean, as I mentioned, I didn't even go to sixth form and did A levels. I went straight in, did AAT, which is sort of where I got that foundation and built the way up. So
yeah. So for those on the call that are wondering, there's lots of acronyms. So AAT, did you do a level 2 or 3?
So I went straight. So I went and did level 3 AAT and then level 4, 3. And then that allowed me to have the exemptions for ACCA.
ACCA, yeah. So they're AAT, and someone put in the chat I think CA. Maybe they're talking about ACA, which is a different professional body. The ICAEW, they're all professional bodies that offer qualifications to make you qualified. So ACCA is different. Is there anything else from Nana and Peter on that question?
Yeah, so unlike the rest, I actually love maths. So
Good.
I did maths for GCSE, and then I went to sixth form and I did maths, history, business, and economics. And then I went to uni and I did accounting and economics. My dad did accounting, so he's just always instilled that in me. So that's where like my love for numbers came from. And because it made sense to me, I was like, okay, I think I can make a career out of this. I think I'm good with this. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen a few things in the chat around T levels. So T levels is the technical qualification. It's actually T levels week this week. So T levels for those on the call that some were talking about a T level in accounting. It's equivalent to 3 A levels. And yes, you can go on to apprenticeship and do an ACCA apprenticeship following your T level if you get the apprenticeship opportunity. Sorry, let's go back to Mitesh.
Yeah, so someone mentioned about trying to get work experience, and there's been a couple of questions about where to find work experience, whether there's any year 12 work experience available that ACCA provide. How did you guys go about finding work experience, and what would you advise someone who wants to try and get work experience in the sector?
So first things first, I'm going to pop in the chat. So if we start sharing the PowerPoint again, there is a ACCA careers website, and they do have work experience and internships there, but it's also a wider site that has lots of different roles for qualified people to unqualified. So I will put that link into the chat as well as the other things that we can offer. But yeah, anyone that would like to about
Yeah, I would just say, if you're like in college, sixth form, or university, please make use of like your learning and development like sector at school. I know I had that at uni, and we literally just walk past that building every day. But when it got to like placement year, I was like, yes, now you guys, I need you guys, and please make use of them. Like they're literally there to help you. And I would say even ask your teachers, ask like senior staff. But people want to help, especially when they see that you're willing to put in the work and you want to learn. Definitely reach out. I would also say there's Indeed. What else is there? There's like what other apps are there? There's so many like working apps, jobs apps that you can literally just go online. LinkedIn as well is the perfect way to network.
Yeah.
Guys, get on LinkedIn, create an account, it's free. It literally gives you like all the job searches. You can just type in whatever you want to do, something will pop up. And right now, just an FYI, the market is popping. So please go on it, log on, have a look. I think in winter times is always, that's when the job market kind of opens a bit after everyone comes back from holiday. So please go in and utilize all those resources.
Great for gaining work experience. Anyone else would like to say about that?
Yeah, I'd also say the way that we've actually recruited a couple of our people in our company is actually just people being bold, people emailing, messaging, is there any jobs coming up? Can I come do work experience? So maybe for everyone, wherever they are, maybe finding some businesses around them, maybe just reaching out, doing them a letter, doing them an email, explain your situation, because you never know what then. That's the way that I fell into my first job, is I did a bit of work experience, seemed to go okay, I like them, they like me, and then I fell into the job. So I just think in this industry there is a job shortage, and there's a talent shortage. Of being bold, being out there, that gets your name known. And then if there is, and also if there's no jobs at that time, just coming back and being saying like, consider me for future positions. I think in this day and age, just putting yourself out there, I guess, is probably what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. I think that the point about being bold is really important, and look at the local employers, and because a lot of companies are offering work experience, so being bold. One thing I would say, LinkedIn is really great and it is free. If you are sending applications to employers, and someone in the chat talked about AI, so the use of AI is to facilitate our lives. However, I receive applications from people about work experience, but they fail to remove elements of like enter your company name here, and they've left it. They've just copied and pasted it. So if you do use any sort of AI or something to support your applicant writing a letter or something, do make sure it's proofread and you add your name and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really, really important because they will see through that. We are going to have time for a few more questions. So on the screen, you'll see before we do wrap up is we do have an application masterclass webinar that's taking place next week. So I'm going to post all the links in here. As we mentioned, ACCA Careers and ACCA X is one of our platforms that offers free courses. So you can actually sign up and look at some their level 2, level 3 courses. So if you were really passionate and you wanted to find out, you can sign up for free, see how it goes. You can, and it gives you a flavour of what that's like. So I'm going to pop it also in the chat, the links to that. So yeah, I think we're going to have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So let's see what other questions we might have.
Okay, you guys have been talking about being bold and brave, etc. So let's talk a little bit about that and go. When you were applying for your apprenticeship, what do you think was in your application form that made you stand out?
I think one thing that I gave feedback for somebody on is like current affairs. So obviously we've recently just had the budget. That is huge for our industry. That will impact us so much. So just not necessarily maybe an application, but just having an understanding of what it is. You might necessarily know like the tax, the implications, the technicalities of it, but reading up on some commentary of it. What do people say? What have economics said about it? Is it good? Is it bad? What's people's stance on that? Because then you are, as an accountant in finance, that will hit us at some point, that we're going to need to use this terminology at some point. So it just gives you that little bit of that edge to be like, yeah, I know what a budget is, you know, research it, look into it, especially in the UK. Yeah, and like a bit like linking on what I said about work experience. If you have done work experience, the soft skills, I think soft skills are so important at the moment. That's what, you know, we will say in our company, we can teach you the skills, we can teach you the technical knowledge, we can teach you how to balance a balance sheet, but I can't teach you to be organised, I can't teach you to have interpersonal skills. But like now I'm saying, do your Tesco's, go to your Sainsbury's, you know, have them build them skills, because it's so important. And being personal, because that's what at the end of the day you're going to have to be with your clients, the people you're working with. That will really stand out, I'd say.
I'd just like to add there, I completely agree with Olivia in terms of have an actual interest. If something sparks your interest, you can obviously tell when you do interviews of people who generally want that job or just are not so interested. So I'd very much say do your research, know the area, and be able to demonstrate, like Olivia said, those soft skills and really demonstrate why you want that role.
I would also say just be yourself. I feel like when I've done interviews, sometimes you can see people trying to be someone that they're not. Just go into the interview, be yourself. Like, you know why you've applied for this role, you know why you've applied for the apprenticeship. Let that personality shine through. You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not. Have interest, have passions. Like me, at my workplace, everybody knows I love history. Like, we talk about things. Life is just not all about work. Like, work is great, but again, you are a human being, you have a personality. Somebody might like to go skiing, somebody might like eating, whatever. Just be yourself, be natural, and just go into that workplace, go into that interview feeling confident, knowing that, yep, I've already got this.
Thank you. And then Peter, do you have anything to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah, if you're doing a written application, firstly, read it out loud to yourself, and secondly, get someone else to read it. That is the biggest sort of instant red flag, is just grammatical and you know, formatting errors. It's the first thing that people look at, so just double check it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, having that proofreading, I'm really bad at spelling, even with sometimes with spell check. If it's something like that, I would get people to check it. And also in terms of like interview skills, so, you know, search opportunities, maybe if there's at school, careers advisors might often offer that. But, you know, get a family member or a friend to practice some interview. You can get interview questions from the internet, typical questions that they're likely to ask you, and be prepared as you can, really. I think we're probably going to have to start to wrap this up. So I'm just going to put in the last poll. And as we put in that last poll, you can follow us on social media, which is on the screen here. And as I said, ACCAX does have free courses that you can take part in if you'd like to get a flavour for that. And I think all is left to say is thank you all very much. Thank you to the panel. So Nana, Daniel, Peter, and Olivia. It seems to have gone really fast. I feel like I blinked. I had so many questions as well to ask you, and the time kind of went. And there was, many questions coming in, and it's really great that everyone was so sort of motivated. Maybe we should do another one and spend longer to answer people's questions. But yeah, any final words from the four of you? So I'll go in order that I introduced you. So Nana, any final words?
Yeah, guys, just good luck. When you go into this, just make sure you know what like the end goal is, what the plan is. If you have any further questions as well, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. If you just want to know more about this session, about what I do, whatever, you can literally just reach out. I'll be happy to help everyone. And good luck.
Thank you. And then Daniel.
Yeah, I'm the same. Just wishing you all the best and making sure you do your research and make sure you know what's involved and just be well prepared. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, so happy to offer that too.
Thank you. And then Peter.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. Don't panic about what you want to do with your life. I still don't know what I want to do, and I'm here. So there you go.
Yeah, that's really good that I still don't know, and I'm much older than all of you. So yeah, if you don't know what you want to do, that's also good. Yeah. And then Olivia.
Yeah, I totally agree. You don't always need to know what you want to do at 16 or 18. There's lots of time to work out. But yeah, I definitely think you're always going to have a job in accountancy or finance. You're always going to need us. So it's definitely a career path if that's what you're willing to take. But yeah, same as everyone else, I'm on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out if you've got any questions. Be more than happy to help. But yeah, good luck and wish you all the best.
Yeah, well, thank you all so much for joining today's session, and thank you again to the panel. As I said, it was really great to see so many motivated people. I've put key links into the chat, so I know some people are asking for what the websites are. You can see the links in the chat. Feel free as well to connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, have a nice evening, and thank you all for joining. So we will probably stay on the call for a bit, and then yeah, thank you all so much.